had to tell it. It's Miller time.
It's Miller time on Talk Radio WRNR. A look at local sports with the play-by-play voice of local sports, Matt Miller.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome in to Miller time on this Friday evening. Matt Miller in the studio along with Matt Crawford, and joining us right out of the gates on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line is Nevin Kilmer. He is the district administrator for District 6 Little League in the state of West Virginia. I was supposed to be at South Berkeley getting ready for a Little League broadcast this evening with the 10 to 12-year-old tournament opener, and Matt was going to be in the hot seat. Instead, Matt's in the hot seat, but it's Miller with Crawford to my left and Mr. Kilmer on the phone line. Nevin, how are you?
I'm doing good, Matt. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for a few minutes. We were hoping to do this interview live, getting ready for some baseball this evening, but the weather had other ideas. Tell us what the field conditions are like right now up at South Berkeley.
Well, yeah, we waited as long as we could, and around 3 or 3:30, the field has been tarped since yesterday evening. And we waited till as long as we could and watched the weather forecast for the rest of the evening. And there was some polling in the outfield, and we just decided that it was best to we have some room to move the games to, so we just moved everything a day. So we'll try again tomorrow evening.
Did the heavy traffic on 81 Route 11 have any impact on tonight's games being moved either?
It did not. It had no impact at all on that, even though it was a nightmare, but it still may be. But with Martinsburg playing against South Berkeley, most teams get there early anyway, so that had no impact on the decision. It was just the weather.
Well, certainly we want to reiterate there has been a traffic backlog on Interstate 81, both north and southbound between exit 5, that's the Inwood exit, and exit 8, that is the Tabler Station Road exit. Multiple vehicle accidents involving multiple tractor trailers at around 2:16 this afternoon. And at last check, they're still working to clear that up, and traffic is still backed up in both directions, and those backups continue to get longer. So if you're in that right now, we're sorry that you're in it, but glad that you're joining us for a little Miller time. We're talking with Nevin Kilmer. He is the district administrator for District 6 Little League. Nevin, start with this tournament. It's the 10 to 12-year-old tournament. There are 5 Little Leagues that are in the district, at least here in Area 1. Tell us how you set this tournament up.
Yeah, that's correct. In Area 1, we have 5 teams with Martinsburg, South Berkeley, Morgan County, Hedgesville, and Jefferson. And what we do back at our tournament meeting in the first part of June, we just draw the 5 names out of a hat and start seeding them as far as game 1, which would have been tonight, would have been Martinsburg against South Berkeley. And then the next 2 out was Morgan County and Hedgesville. And then, of course, Jefferson would have been the last team in the envelope. And they basically get kind of a bye as far as that goes. And then in Area 2, which actually they are playing as we speak in Area 2 tonight, that game they're playing right now is Hampshire against Moorfield. That game is being held at East Hardy High School. And there's 6 teams in that area. Of course, then they come together for the district tournament.
Now, we do it a little different here in this district than the other districts around the state, correct? By breaking it down into areas. The other districts tend to do just a full district tournament or even pool play, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. What they do is they have a big district tournament, but then the teams aren't that far apart. But from here to Grant County, from Martinsburg to Grant County, you're talking maybe an hour and 45 minutes, a 2-hour drive. So what we do, especially with 11 teams or 11 leagues, so what we do, we split it up. If we have more than 6 teams in a tournament, as far as 10-12 baseball does, what we do is split it up for Area 1, have 5 down here, and then Area 2 is 6 up there, and then they play that out to the end also.
With some weather also in the forecast for tomorrow, I know you said you had some days to play with. When does weather and time start to become an issue?
Well, the district tournament is not until district tournament is on July the 2nd. So we try to get it finished at least 3 to 4 days before that because of the pitching situation. But, if need to, we can go right up to, to July the 1st. If we have to move the district tournament in a couple of days, we can do that. But with the weather forecast, if we would get rained out tomorrow, we would just move everything up into Sunday and the extended forecast for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, looks pretty decent as far as what I've been seeing.
Does it also get challenging in the aspect that not only do you have this 10 to 12-year-old tournament getting started, but you have other tournaments going on as well in other age brackets?
That's correct. We just finished up the 8, 9, 10 baseball and softball. They finished, actually, the last game in Area 2 was last night up there. They had the suspended game the night before. So those 4 teams have been set for the district tournament. But also tonight, we had the Junior League Baseball tournament, which was starting at Oakdale Park tonight for 3 teams down here, and there's 3 teams in Area 2. So that game was also postponed tonight, and they'll try that again tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Any significant rule changes or anything from Little League going into this year's postseason? I know you've got pitch count rules, and there are substitution rules as well.
Yeah, we had 3 main rule changes. I guess that's not even in the rule book. But when we went to Little League Congress in New Orleans, the district administrators voted on these rule changes, and it was actually implemented immediately. One of them is actually the visits to the mound from the coach. It has been reduced from 3 to 2. So, like the second time out in the same inning, by the manager, that pitcher has to be removed. So I believe it's cutting back on time of the game. And also another change is in the old days, you could pitch 20 innings or 20 pitches and pitch again the next day. So what they did regulate that now that you cannot pitch in 3 days in a row. So you can go 20 and 20, and then you need a day's rest after that. And then the main thing, I guess, is the tournament rule as far as mandatory play, which has now been changed to basically we have to notify the managers starting around the 4th inning that they have to get their subs in. And if their subs are not in a complete game, basically the manager will be removed without replacement for the remainder of the international tournament. So that's a big change as far as it all depends on whether you have 12 or fewer or 13 or 14 players on what their minimum playing time is. So if you have 11 or 12, they would have to play 2 outs or 6 outs consecutive in the field with 1 at bat. And then 13 or 14, the player only has to bat at least once per game. And if that's not done by the end of the game, then a phone call is made to region, and then they are basically removed. So it means a lot about getting the kids in now. You just can't take their 2-game suspension and play the next game like it used to be in the old days.
So if a team wins, that win would still stand, although that manager would then be gone for the rest of the tournament.
Well, that is up to the tournament committee to decide. So that they have something in there about if the manager or coach takes action that results in making a travesty of the game or causing them to intentionally perform poorly, or for extending or shortening a game because the subs aren't in. That's all relayed to regional, and it is up to them to decide whether it could be whether it's a forfeit or just whatever their decision would be. Nothing's final until the tournament committee decides what's final.
It's kind of funny that you say that because just last year in the state tournament, Martinsburg against Shinston, and Shinston actually issued intentional walks to load the bases and bring the game-tying run in because they didn't get a substitute. I remember being down there for that broadcast, and we had about a 20-minute delay as they made those phone calls, and ultimately they allowed that game to continue. Shinston went on to get the win anyway, but that was clearly one of the most unique situations I think I've ever been in.
What they did was they added additional penalties, including but not limited to forfeiture of the game, additional mandatory play requirements for players who failed to meet mandatory play, and or disqualification of the team or coaches from further tournament participation may be imposed if, in the opinion of the tournament committee, that they make a travesty or cause players to perform poorly for the purpose of extending or shortening the game. So, it's just a phone call down, and they're going to make it. We tell them the facts. The tournament committee will make a decision, and then the manager has to live with that decision. So.
And you have the job of administering all of that at this Area 1 as well as the Area 2 tournament and then the district tournament also.
That's correct. And this year we do have a 8, 9, 10 state tournament here, which Martinsburg and Hedgesville Little Leagues are hosting. But total tournament games in my district this year is 61 tournament games. So, and that's not counting the 25 state tournament games. So with the weather, it's quite challenging to get these 61 tournament games in. It's almost an every night affair beginning last Saturday and going clear in the middle of July.
Well, as we wrap this conversation up, I want to give you just a few moments as well to talk to us about the volunteers that helped to make that possible. I mean, you were just talking about over 80 games, including that state tournament, and you've got to have people running concession stands, in the press box, umpires. There are a lot of people involved.
That is correct. Well, as far as hosting tournaments, you need scorekeepers. You're going to need which the host league is responsible for. The scorekeeper, you need a pitch counter for baseball. You need concession stand workers, announcers, field crew, which South Berkeley has already been working on their field with the tarp on it. And then also, our volunteer umpires, you can't say enough about them as far as, you get 3 or 4 guys out there on the field and they're not getting paid anything but a cheeseburger or a hot dog or, and a Coke. And you call them again, tomorrow, and they're more than willing to go back again and do it again. So, that's what Little League's all about as far as your volunteer umpires. Clear up in the Little League World Series, all them guys are volunteer umpires. So it does take a lot of volunteer time, and we definitely appreciate all our volunteer umpires and all of our workers, on the field.
Well, Nevin, thank you for all the work that you're putting in as well. We look forward to seeing you there tomorrow as we'll broadcast now Game 1 of the 10 to 12-year-old tournament. Martinsburg will be at South Berkeley at 6. We'll get on the air at about 5:45. Nevin, thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you.
All right. That is Nevin Kilmer, District Administrator for District 6 Little League in the state of West Virginia, joining us on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center Talk Line. We'll take a quick break and come back with more Miller Time.
The Honda 4th of July sales event is back, and you could get a brilliant deal on our most popular vehicles, like the Civic, Fit, and Pilot. It's a reason to celebrate across the country. From the Liberty Bell to Hollywood, Cape Cod, Atlantic City, the Grand Canyon, the Mojave Desert, the Golden Gate Bridge, and even back up to Niagara Falls. Although technically we share it with Canada. So come discover the 2018 KBB.com Best Overall Brand during the Honda 4th of July sales event. Hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
Miller Honda, south of Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. www.mymillerhonda.com.
Based on 2018 Brand Image Awards from Kelly Blue Book. Visit KBB.com for more information.
NFL Network Now for Friday, June 22nd, 60 seconds. I'm Kyle Montgomery with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Jameis Winston could miss the start of the season in Tampa Bay. According to NFL Network insider in Rappaport, Winston is expected to be suspended for several games to start the year. Rappaport says the suspension is for violating the league's personal conduct policy, stemming from an alleged groping incident with a female driver of a popular ride-sharing service back in 2016. Meantime, the league announced the training camp dates for all 32 teams on Thursday. The Ravens will take the field first with their rookies scheduled to report on July 11th. Veterans for all but 2 teams don't report until July 25th or later. You can see the full list of starting dates on NFL.com. And the Broncos have their first-round rookie under contract Thursday, signing 5th overall pick Bradley Chubb. Chubb is projected to be an immediate impact pass rusher alongside All-Pro Von Miller. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
This is John Greenhut. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
As a doctor who provided medical care to remote islands, Dr. Ben Lebreau has seen some things.
Piracy, hurricanes, being struck by lightning.
While most of us can't relate to confrontations with pirates, we get that life and work come with a certain amount of risk. But your retirement shouldn't. Dr. Ben purchased an annuity to secure a guaranteed monthly retirement income for life, so his money won't stop working when he does. Find out if an annuity is right to protect your future.
Coming up, more Miller time.
The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building is now open. This new 3-story, 40,000 square foot facility is conveniently located off Interstate 81, exit 20 at the intersection of US 11 and Campus Drive. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills medical office building features many different offices and services for area residents. It's now home to urgent care, women's imaging center, lab services, and primary care pediatrics. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building now open to serve you.
Will Greer to David Sills is a winning combination WVU fans know well.
Greer throwing toward the end zone. Ball caught. Post pattern. Sills. Touchdown. David Sills hauls it in.
The Mountaineers, Talk Radio WRNR, and your business is a dynamic combination like no other. Contact our station. Add your company to the coverage of the great tradition of West Virginia Mountaineer football and basketball. Heard right here on Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports radio station.
Well, boys and girls, I'm going to put my sweater on over here. Matt's going to put his sweater on. We're going to sit back and talk some sports.
What was that
music?
It's a Marshall Tucker band. Southern rock, man. Everyone needs a little flute in their life.
I just wasn't ready for a little flute at that moment in time. For those that don't know, I'm at the helm right now running the commercials out of the computer. Matt is to my left, and we kind of draw straws every now and again as to who's going to be in what position. And so Matt had already set up the first break when he kind of handed the reins over and was like, here, you go ahead and do this. And so that song was set up, and I'm looking at it going, Marshall Tucker Band, and this will be interesting. And I didn't realize it was so fluty, I guess, at the beginning. Sports-wise, we're talking Doug Flutie. That's the only way I could tie that song into sports. That sounded more like I was ready for an episode of Mr. Rogers, which is why I was getting my sweater on.
I was wondering where the sweater comment was going. I figured that's what you meant, but I wasn't 100% sure.
I never got in to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood a whole lot as a kid.
Me either.
A little bit here and there, but I don't know. Puppets scared me, and they had too much puppet stuff back in those days.
See, I was a total different era than you were, but there's never reruns at my house with any of that. So
let's turn our attention to Major League Baseball. We had been talking Little League.
Similar to Mr. Rogers, let's turn our attention to the Washington Nationals.
Their offense is hitting about like Mr. Rogers. They did get a win last night, though, over the Baltimore Orioles, taking the rubber game of a 3-game series, beating the O's by a 4-2 final. They got it done with a couple of big hits, really, and again, strong pitching.
Is that supposed to be an accomplishment? Scraping by the Orioles? Again, no disrespect to the Orioles, but they're playing bad this year.
It's a win.
It's a win, but this is a series that just didn't go well.
You take a win however you can get it.
You take 2 or 3 any way you can get it, but if any Nationals fan came out positive, the starting pitching stayed consistent, so it's not like that all of a sudden turned around, and you can look at that as a bright spot. I don't know if, as a Nationals fan, you can come out of the series against the O's and really be hopeful and optimistic about what you saw.
All right, before we get too deep into our discussion on the offense, let's actually give you the little bit of offense that the Nationals did have last night. Anthony Rendon with a big 6th-inning home run tied the score.
Gausman delivers. Swinging a long drive left center field. This game's going to be tied. This one way back and long gone.
one. Into the Budweiser Brewhouse red seats, Anthony Rendon launches Kevin Gausman's 100th pitch for his 7th home run of the year. And the Nationals finally hit one out. It's the Nationals 2 and the Orioles 2.
Dave Jagler with the call. The Nationals finally hit one out. Do you realize that home run was just the 10th team home run in the month of June? Hello, today's the 22nd, and that's only 10 home runs this month for a Nationals team that you would expect to be hitting a few more long balls.
Yeah, it's bad. And it's not just because, okay, they're not hitting them over the fence, but they're still legging out doubles and scoring all sorts of runs. And the home run total is very accurately describing the rest of the batting numbers for the Nationals. It's bad all across the board, except for the one bright spot, and it's the youngest player in the majors, Mr. Juan Soto.
Well, and that's the thing, the best hitter right now on this team. Now, Anthony Rendon's on a hot streak, all right? We just heard his home run, and he's been really hitting it. Trey Turner's had some pretty good games as of late as well. But right now, you'd arguably say one of, if not the best hitter on the team is the youngest player on the team and in baseball right now, Juan Soto, and he did it again yesterday in the 8th.
Left fielder Peterson's way towards the line, gap in left center, Jones straight away.
The pitch swung on, hit in the air to that gap in left center field. No one there to catch this one. One hopping down to the bullpen fence. Harper scores from third. Turner around third, coming home. There will be no throw. It's a double and 2 runs batted in for the 19-year-old rookie Juan Soto. He does it again. RBIs 15 and 16. No sooner than we talk about that gap in left center field, he put it right there. His 7th double. He's given the Nationals a 2-run lead here at the bottom of the 8th inning. It's Washington 4 and Baltimore 2.
That would be the final as the Nationals would get that 4-2 victory. It was Kelvin Herrera who gets the win in relief, a perfect relief inning, and Sean Doolittle will get his 20th save of the year. What's lost in this is Max Scherzer. 7 innings, gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, and gets a no decision. Do you realize in his last 3 starts that he has 2 losses and a no decision and yet an ERA right around 2?
Just goes to show you how bad the offense has been. Even now, the offensive numbers are bleeding into the pitcher's statistics because of how bad they are. I mean, think about that. When your hitters are affecting that kind of performance, that's bad. That's something that needs to be addressed quick.
Well,
Max Scherzer is on his way to a third straight Cy Young. If he keeps this up in the second half of the season, and the fact that he's gotten 2 straight no decisions is bad. I'm sorry, 2 straight losses and a no decision.
Yeah, he's pitched well enough, clearly well enough to win all 3 of those games, which would have him, at about 12-1 on the season instead of where he's at right now. Well, despite the struggles at the plate, once again, manager Dave Martinez being optimistic.
Well, I expect him to have a good at-bat, and he did. So it worked out well today. I mean, we hit the ball hard throughout the whole game, so it's good to see Soto come through right there.
Yeah, Juan Soto coming through, and that's something that the Nationals have been struggling with. We've been talking about their inability to hit with runners in scoring position, and obviously, as a result, that inability to drive in runs. Do you realize they're averaging 3.8 runs a game through the month of June? That's 23rd in the major leagues.
Again, which is ridiculous for the amount of talent that they bring to the plate every night. And for the fact that it's been going on for this long now, again, you throw a Juan Soto out there, a Rendon out there who have been doing it throughout the season. And Mark Reynolds has had good streaks. But, I mean, just overall as a team, it's kind of concerning about how long this cold streak the plate has gone on.
We'll see if they can get a little something going after the win last night as the Nationals take on the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. Game time 7:05, pregame 6:30 right here. Coming up, we've got more Miller Time.
CBS News updates. Texas GOP Senators Ted Cruz and John Cornyn have introduced what they call a bill to keep families together and enforce the law. It is an effort to stop the separation of immigrant children and parents. Cornyn says,
it breaks your heart to realize that people, because of violence, because of the circumstances they live in their home country, that they feel necessary to risk this dangerous trip from Central America up through Mexico into the United States. But we have to realize they're a victim too.
President Trump says the U.S. welcomes immigrants.
We want people to come in, but we want them to come in the proper way.
At a media event today, the president reassured,
we'll not rest until our border is secure, our citizens are safe, and we finally end the immigration crisis once and for all. We want safety in our country. We want strong borders.
He hosted a so-called Angel Families event who lost family members to violence by illegal immigrants. CBS News Updates, I'm Gary Nunn.
Now, with your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
We've got cloud cover in the eastern panhandle weather here through the evening, but just the small chance of a shower before the rain threat increases into tomorrow morning. Looking at a low temperature near 64. Tomorrow's high near 82 in the afternoon. We'll have some showers, maybe a thunder shower in the morning, and then gradually in the afternoon, the rain is gone once again. Skies partly sunny on Sunday, warm and muggy with a high of 86. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
We're talking with Joe Ferretti of Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone. Joe, how do you hire a personal injury attorney?
Rob, we believe you should look for an attorney who has a good reputation and the results to match. Ask around. We have a history of success representing folks who live here. You'll be convinced that my law firm is the one to handle your personal injury claim. Call Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone at 264-8505 for a free review of your case. Or contact us online at hfslawyers.com. At Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone, reputation and results matter.
L.A. Roberts is Berkeley County's oldest jeweler, where every season is new and exciting. In fact, new is old school to us, and though it's nothing new, our old traditions like exceptional service, quality, and value maintain L.A. Roberts Jewelers as the old master among so many new kids on the block. Whether you are a newcomer or part of the old guard, entrust all your fine jewelry needs to L.A. Roberts, Old World Jewelers for a new age, in historic downtown Martinsburg.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Brazil gets the win. It took until stoppage time, and they would score twice against Costa Rica, win 2-0, including a goal from Neymar. Nigeria shut out Iceland 2-0. It was Musa with both goals for Nigeria. Switzerland over Serbia 2-1 on a late goal. 16 baseball games on the slate, including Cleveland and their 4-game winning streak hosting the Tigers. A little bit after 7 o'clock Eastern, Yankees at the Rays, A's and White Sox in a doubleheader, Marlins and the Rockies, Padres and the Giants. The Braves have placed youngster Mike Soroka on the 10-day DL. He's got right shoulder inflammation. And Spurs guard Danny Green says he's opting into his deal. He will make $10 million this upcoming year. I'm Keith Irizarry, and this is NBC Sports Radio.
It's that time of year for loud bangs. No, not just thunderstorms, but fireworks. The city of Martinsburg reminds you that even though West Virginia State Code permits the sale of fireworks, discharging them within city limits is prohibited. And this Martinsburg City Ordinance is in force all year long. Set off fireworks within the city of Martinsburg and you're risking a fine of $500, 30 days in jail, or both. Don't risk it. The discharge of fireworks within city limits is against the law. If you see or hear fireworks being discharged, call the Martinsburg Police Department at 304-264-2100. That's 304-264-2100. Remember, it's against the law to set off fireworks in the city of Martinsburg today and every day. This message paid for by the city of Martinsburg.
And we welcome you back into Miller Time on this Friday evening. Rain around the area, canceling tonight's Little League All-Star action. We'll have coverage tomorrow at 5:45 with the first pitch beginning at 6 o'clock. It pushes the tournament back one day.
And a recommendation for anybody driving out there, do not go down Interstate 81.
Either direction
Past I'm trying to think of a good past really here.
Well, there were multiple tractor trailers apparently involved in multiple accidents between the Inwood exit, exit 5, and the Tabler Station Road exit of exit 8. And that was at 2:16 this afternoon. We received from Alert Berkeley the message to say avoid that area. And while we have not gotten any updates specifically through Alert Berkeley, and usually when a road reopens, we'll get that, we've been checking all of the various sites that give us that traffic. And what was it earlier? You checked, and this was probably an hour ago.
Not even an hour ago. I think this was 45 minutes ago.
So you went online and typed into a map application or website trying to go from here to where?
Shenandoah University in Winchester.
There you
have to go on 81
Should
South.
be a half an hour roughly.
Yeah. 2 hours and 25 minutes it would take you right now. Or it would have taken you an hour ago.
Which means it's probably that much further. So, yeah, a lot of backup right now on Interstate 81 in both directions. South end of the county working north and or south end of the county working back into Virginia if you're trying to come northbound. So, again, be patient out there. Avoid that area if you can. And if you're stuck, we are sorry but glad that you are joining us, and we hope that we can help to make the time go just a little bit quicker. We're on the air till 6:30 this evening as we take you to Washington Nationals baseball. They still plan to play. I'm not sure what the rain situation has been in D.C., but they were posting lineups earlier in the afternoon for tonight's game. All right, before we move on, it is time for our favorite feature. Are you ready? Cue the music.
It's easy to be our favorite when it's really our only feature.
I guess we got to come up with more features.
We do. I'm just saying, it's it's easy to be our favorite when it's the only one.
Well, we have the NFL Network now. That's a feature.
It's not our feature. I mean, it is, but...
And we've got the Mountaineer Report during the
This was a unofficial feature that we made incidentally.
Yeah, it's easy to look at today's date in history. Anybody could do that. So
it takes real talent to look at to look to the past.
That's it.
Some look into the future. We look at yesterday.
So instead of looking at June 21st, these are some special things that happened in sports yesterday.
Instead of looking at June 22nd, we're looking at June 21st.
Did I get it wrong?
You did get it wrong. Sorry. It's a Friday. It's the end of the week. You're still coming back from vacation. We'll give you a break.
All right, let's go to June 21st of 1904. An article in the Boston Herald is the first known reference to the New York baseball team as the Yankees. And they would later officially become the Yankees, but not until 1913.
I was going to say, it was a little bit later than right after the turn of the century, wasn't it?
Yes. How about the 47th British Open wrapping up on yesterday's date in 1907? That was played at Royal Liverpool Golf Club. Let's move on to New York Yankees, 1939, announcing Lou Gehrig's retirement after doctors reveal his diagnosis with what has become known as ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. I'm going to try to get this right. It is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
ALS is a lot easier to say.
Absolutely. Very, very sad moment. Arguably, when he is at Yankee Stadium and gets a chance to address the fans, one of those kind of tearjerker moments, and arguably one of the best known, when he steps to the microphone and you hear that echo as he declares, today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Just, wow. So we'll pause and leave it at that as we move to 1965, and it is Gary Player winning the 65th U.S. Open Golf Championship.
Gary Player yesterday, or was that Fred Couples yesterday?
I think it was Couples.
Was it Couples yesterday?
Yeah. How about moving on to 1986? Heisman Trophy winner Bo Jackson says, I'm playing baseball. Signs with the Kansas City Royals.
Freak athlete.
Oh, my goodness.
I wish I could have seen him play.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he was too strong for his own body.
Yeah.
Which caused his sporting career to end early. His
hip injuries, I believe.
But just the muscle around his hip, he had so much torque in his lower body that he ended up not being able to play because he was too strong.
Just getting a report. Thanks, Tommy, chiming in as he's listening. He says, hey, tarps are on the field in D.C. It's raining down there. We'll see what happens with the pregame schedule to come up at 6:30. All right, we've got one more moment. Where do we go? Let's go to 2015. Jordan Spieth wins the 115th U.S. Open at Chambers Bay. Again, that was yesterday's date in 2015. That wraps up our look at yesterday's date in sports history. A lot of fun.
It is.
Also yesterday, by the way, in sports history, because it is now history, it happened yesterday, the NBA held its draft. You watched, right?
No, I'm not even going to lie to you and say I did. No, I didn't. I will say I kept up with it just because there was a lot of local interest. I mean, you had Javon Carter wondering if he was going to get drafted and where he was going to go. I had, being a Maryland fan, I had Justin Jackson and the Red Mamba, Kevin Huerter, to watch to see where they were going to go. So while I kept up with it, it was never on the TV.
All right. So we bring in someone who was on pins and needles, as they say, all day yesterday, gearing himself up. I have a feeling he had all kinds of food sitting around him. Some Gatorades, milkshakes, Slurpees, whatever.
Little sweat towel that he would pat his forehead with.
Looking like, Jerry Tarkanian back in the day as he was seeing, okay, what teams are taking what players. We welcome in from the newsroom, Caleb Falera.
Howdy. Well, Matt knows what kind of food I had there. It was Thursday.
You had boneless wings from Buffalo Wild Wings.
There you go. And a couple Cokes.
Every Thursday, the man goes. I don't know how he can afford it, but every Thursday, this man goes to Buffalo Wild Wings for their 60-cent boneless wing special.
See, I can't do Thursdays. Tuesdays are good because I like the boneless wing, the boned wing. Yeah, the regular, the traditional.
Yeah,
the boneless I struggle with.
Yeah, I'm not a boneless guy. It's a chicken nugget. It's not a wing.
What kind of sauce? I mean, are you spicy or?
Oh, well, I had some mango habanero and I had some teriyaki. I got to cool myself off with the teriyaki.
Some sweet and spicy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Buffalo guy. I just got to have the Buffalo sauce. Maybe the occasional honey barbecue.
Yeah, honey barbecue.
Although it depends on where I don't know. Do you get different wing flavors depending on where you're at?
I don't get a lot of wings, to be honest with you. So I've had the wings at Glory Days. I've had the wings at Buffalo Wild Wings. I've had family-made wings. So,
all right,
Mountaineer Grill and Pub has some.
Do you get different flavored wings depending on where you're at?
I'm usually more like an Asian-y. Wherever I go, I usually get Asian-y.
Okay.
Yeah, wing sauces.
Something about teriyaki.
Yeah.
That type of taste.
Delicious.
All right, well, now that we know what Caleb was eating while enjoying the NBA draft, let's get his thoughts on the NBA draft.
I was looking for a lot more of players that are already in the NBA being traded around, so there wasn't much of that. So I was kind of surprised about that. But the trades that did happen, I was very surprised about, the hometown guy for the Sixers, Mikal Bridges. He played at Villanova. His mom's the VP of HR for the 76ers. He was selected 10th or 11th by them, but then ended up throughout the first round getting traded to Phoenix, which I thought was a steal for the 76ers. They basically got Miles Bridges and another first-round pick just for Mikal Bridges, so that was a great pickup for them. I was a little disappointed in Javon Carter slipping to the second round, but I think the Grizzlies are a great fit for him, and it's a grit and grind type basketball team. They're very defensive-oriented.
I was going to say the Grizzlies are one of those teams, them and Utah are usually two of the teams that, if you look at their season stats, are keeping opposing teams under 100 points. So I heard Javon Carter was going there. I said, okay, he's going to a defensive-oriented team, and he's a defensive player. So I was very impressed with Memphis picking him up.
All right, before we go any further, since we're already talking about Javon Carter, let's hear from first the Grizzlies head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff, as he talks about what Carter will bring to the Grizzlies.
Starting with Javon, I think the first thing you see is the tenacity that he plays with. Any game you watch when he's on the floor, he stands out. And I think that's impressive. A lot of times we put a focus on the guy who's making all the shots and he stands out. The way I see it is we want to watch the guy who's stopping that guy. And when you go back and watch the games that he played against, those prolific scorers or those gifted offensive players, he still was the one that came out on top. And to me, that's the most impressive thing.
Can you give some credit to Bob Huggins for the defense that Javon Carter plays? Is he a little bit a result of the system that he played in?
I wouldn't just say a little bit. I mean, he was very overlooked. You know, he wasn't a big prospect coming out of high school. I mean, he developed under Huggins. So,
well, I think that you can play the next clip, and I think even Javon Carter will tell you that.
Well, let's hear from Carter himself. These comments coming from a media conference as Carter was introduced to the Grizzlies media earlier this afternoon.
I grew up a scorer. I used to like to put the ball in the basket. But when I got to college, then it was more like what he was saying, like, we got scores. I need to find another way to stay on the court. And it was just defense. I just knew that I was going to have bad games offensively, but I shouldn't have bad games defensively. And that's why that mentality just brought me like, all right, I'm going to just go hard on defense and just see where it take me. And that's brought me here. And so that's my calling. So why not? That's why I just go all at it.
So there you go. Javon Carter says, hey, I learned my defense in college. And you got to like a kid who in college who mentally is coming in saying, look, I score the basketball, saying if I'm going to find a way to stay on the floor, I better learn to play defense. And that's what he did.
Yeah, and I think that still goes along with Huggins. I think there was probably a thought that went through his head, I'm sure, in a meeting with Huggy Bear. It was okay, you want to see the floor, you better step up on defense. And I'm thinking it was partially him, but also going back to the original question you asked, I'm sure it was a little bit of a nudge from Bob Huggins saying, if you want to stay on the floor, we have scorers. Mm-hmm. Learn how to be a lockdown defender and learn how to run the press Virginia defense.
Interesting note. Let's go back to the young man from Maryland that you were talking about.
Which one, Justin Jackson or Kevin Huerter? The Red Mamba.
The Red Mamba. Because he went to
Atlanta.
Read an article earlier today where the Atlanta GM said that he was this close to making a trade to move up from the number 19 pick, where they get the Red Mamba, to the number 17 pick because they wanted him. And they thought they may have to move up in order to get him. But because of really social media, he was able to evaluate and realize, he's still going to be available at 19, so let's just hold back and not have to end up trading away another draft pick and so forth to be able to get that pick. I found that kind of fascinating because the GM for Atlanta commented later in that article about a lot of times, that social media makes his job hard, but in this case, it actually helped.
Well, you look at all the so-called draft experts.
The wash bombs.
Yeah, who get paid to look at all this stuff. And they're constantly putting out, okay, and I'm sure GMs don't have time to do a big board for every single team in the NBA, and that's what the draft experts do. So while they're putting stuff out, they have a pretty good idea about who's going to go where. So in a way, I'm thinking it can be to a GM's advantage to have one of the interns in the front office go, all right, make sure you're looking at all these guys' Twitter pages and online on ESPN and all that stuff. So I'm thinking technology is changing the way people draft and manage now.
Yeah, I just found that kind of interesting. It's certainly not something that I would have thought of, that, social media, Twitters, Facebooks, those things going on out there, Instagrams, whatever it may be, about who's going where and, wow, this guy's probably going next, how it might impact the way that a GM would look at things. All right, our intern, Anthony, we need you. It's actually Anthony, but we call him Anthony here around the radio station. Your job is to be keeping an eye on what other talk shows are talking about so that we can stay on top of things and know the next topic that we need to be hitting here on Miller Time. So take care of that during the break if you can. We'll have Caleb Reed join us in just a moment. After this break, we'll keep talking NBA draft as we look at the Washington Wizards. We talked with Dave Johnson yesterday. He was pretty optimistic going in, but our own Matt Crawford, not so optimistic coming out of the draft. We'll get his thoughts and Caleb's thoughts next on Miller Time.
Suddenly this crazy world made more sense to me.
For new car dealerships and for used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
You know why it's especially nice when you buy her a gift from our store? Because she knows the only reason you did it is because you love her so much. I mean, you'd rather be on the golf course practicing your chip shot, right? The golf course is like your home away from home. As for jewelry stores, you can't wait to get out if you do go in. Hi, I'm Lori from Bechtel Jewelers. And guys, the good news is she really will know you did it for her. You stepped out of your comfort zone in a big way, all to please her. And she will love you for it. She knows where you'd rather be, and it really tickles her that you came to her home away from home. So come on in, and when she opens her gift and reacts to it, well, there's a good chance you'll find yourself in our store again. Yes, because you love her, and because you love how she loves you for loving her so much. Bechtel Jewelers, Route 11 South in Inwood, will have you in and out before you know it, and you'll still have time to practice your putting.
Hello, this is Delegate Mike Folk, candidate for West Virginia Senate District 16. I want to extend my personal congratulations to all the Little League All-Stars this summer. As a former 3-sport athlete and Shepherd football player, I understand the importance of discipline, hard work, and perseverance, something our All-Stars have in common. As you continue your journey through this summer and your life, remember this quote from Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, who said, "Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't." Best of luck and have a great tournament.
With 4 new car dealerships and 4 used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
We welcome you back into Miller Time. Along with Matt Crawford, I'm Matt Miller from the newsroom. Caleb Falero joining us as we're talking a little NBA drafts.
We bring you back into jazzercising. You're making fun of me for putting the Marshall Tucker band, and you come back with Whip It.
At least there's bass in this. There's no flute. I thought we were, dancing through some fairy field or something there earlier, welcoming everybody back. I didn't know what that was.
And you're going to come back to a song called Whip It with a bunch of dudes singing about whipping it with 4 guys sitting around you.
It's not too late to whip it. Whip it now.
All right, we welcome you back.
Let's get back to the Wizards, who blew it last night. Didn't whip it, blew it.
You don't like their selections. Let's go with the first round, number 15, out of Oregon, 6'7", 215, a versatile swingman, Troy Brown. He doesn't even have words, Caleb.
I don't know how
he can't even get it out.
Again, I didn't watch Troy Brown play a lot because he was a West Coast kid out of Oregon.
Who's Troy Brown again?
Yeah, that's the thing.
But on the East Coast, that's going to be a lot of people's reaction because he played on the West Coast. But he's a good player. He's versatile, like you said, but he's 215. He's tall. 6'6" plug, was it 6'7"?
6'7", they listen.
So 6'7", 2.
But they say he's got long arms and a long wingspan that actually allows him to play more like a 6'10" because of his length and abilities, his athletic abilities to maybe get into passing lanes, block shots, that sort of thing.
And maybe this is just me refusing to acknowledge that the NBA is evolving into a league that doesn't need a true big man center anymore. But the Wizards need somebody inside. They need a big 240 muscular pound 6'8" center. They need a Shaquille O'Neal type body build. Or at least that's what I think they need. Because
they've got to be a run and gun type of team, right, Caleb? I mean, if they've got to be able to get up and down the floor. Everybody's got to be able to move.
Yeah, and I saw a few big men that they left up on the board that I really thought they might have taken a chance on. I mean, you had the big guy that the Celtics took. Robert Williams, I think. And you also had Mo Wagner out of Michigan. I mean, he can shoot, he can stretch the floor out for you.
I thought they should have taken Wagner. Watching him all year, when being in the Big Ten and being in the same conference as Maryland, he crushed Maryland last year, which wasn't saying much because Maryland was awful last year. But I thought that when he was still on the board, that would be a good move for the Wizards.
Just got the text from Tommy tuning in. He says, got to talk about the Wizards draft. It was awful. And then he adds they should have taken Lonnie Walker.
Lonnie Walker. Yeah, he had some great hair at the draft. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Well, look, let's get a little more about Brown from someone that would know, because obviously he's a part of that War Room team that helped to make this decision. Wizards head coach Scott Brooks.
This is a guy that we've been targeting. He's we talk about, just like chemistry guys, glue guys, and culture guys, and this is a guy that I like. I had a great connection with him when we interviewed him in Chicago, and same here. And he did a lot of good things on the court, but he said the right things off the court talking to him. But like I said, he has the ability to guard multiple players, and the way the league is going, he's going to have to continue to improve his game, and he has things that we see that he needs to work on. And from what I've been told, he's not afraid of the gym. He's not afraid to get after it and get better. So 18 years old, he has a lot to improve, and we're going to work him every day to get him better and get him ready for his first training camp.
I think the key there, as we heard from Scott Brooks, Wizards head coach, talking about Troy Brown, is you're looking at a young man that's still 18. He's going to turn 19 soon, from what I've read. He's very versatile in what his skill set brings. In 3 years, he'll have tremendous NBA experience and still only be right at 21 to 22 years old. Give this kid a chance. Maybe he becomes one of those guys at number 15 that turns into maybe not a superstar, but a solid contributor for this team.
Does he immediately go in the starting lineup?
No, I don't think so. I would think that he's probably coming off the bench. What do you think?
Yeah, off the bench with Ibra and them. Yeah.
But he becomes a guy that hopefully can learn quickly and then be able to contribute. The more success he has coming off the bench, clearly the more minutes you're going to try to give him on the floor.
You know who else was picked at 15? Kawhi Leonard.
That's true.
Were you shocked to see him stay?
Yeah, I really thought that they would take advantage of the fact that they know he's leaving now after meeting with Pop. Kawhi met with him. I thought they would try to get as much as they could there. The Clippers were trying to give them, I think it was 13 and 14 or 14 and 15. They could have had 2 first-round picks this year and some more assets for Kawhi, so I don't know.
Let me ask you, what do you know about the number 44 pick in the second round for the Wizards? I'm not sure I'm even pronouncing this right. Is it Isuf Senan?
I think it's Isuf. I think it's Isuf. Pronounced draft and stash. I think that's what they pronounce it nowadays.
So, again, another young guy, 18 years old, GM Ernie Grunfeld on that selection.
Well, his athleticism. We have a European scout. We've seen him a lot. We just had the Euro camp, which we had a chance to see him in, and he's very athletic. He gets up and down the floor. He's got a nice looking shot, good feel for the game, very competitive. And like I said, we think he has big upside. He's 6'4" already. He's only 18. He might get a little bit taller, but he's a good ball handler, very competitive.
So another young player. The Wizards take a couple of 18-year-olds. So clearly they're not thinking about next year. They're thinking with these two guys about the future.
But they still have to address next year.
Yes.
So what are they going to do to address next year?
Well, again, they're still looking for someone to take that contract of Marcin Gortat. We'll have to wait and see whether the Wizards can find a taker. Clearly, I guess they're looking to do it through either free agency and or trades. All right, stay with us. We've got more Miller Time coming up.
Here's your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. The Martinsburg Police Department on Thursday announced the initiation of the 28th case under the city's drug house ordinance for the rental property at 507 South Raleigh Street, owned by John Oram. This is Oram's third property cited under the ordinance. The drug-selling operation discovered Tuesday was in the duplex building immediately adjacent to Orem's bail bonds business office. In addition to recovering illegal drugs, officers seized suspected drug money, recovered several firearms, and made 3 felony drug arrests. According to Governor Jim Justice's office, parking rates at the Capitol complex will stay the same as they are now. This after the governor ordered a proposal to increase the rates withdrawn. The Department of Administration filed a notice of public comment with the Secretary of State on June 11th, which proposed to amend a state regulation that sets the parking rates and fines on lots at the complex. That would have raised both the rates and the fines by a significant amount. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
Now, with your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
Not a bad evening around the eastern panhandle. It will remain mostly cloudy with temperatures hovering around 70 for a good part of the night. Early morning low near 64 degrees. Couple of showers may arrive here too before sunrise. And a period of rain and showers to start tomorrow. By afternoon, it's cloudy, turning warmer and more humid with highs in the lower 80s. Sunday, partly sunny, the high near 86. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Talk Radio WRNR Traffic Alert.
Alert Berkeley is reporting multiple accidents involving multiple vehicles on Interstate 81, both northbound and southbound. Those accidents occurring between mile markers 5 and 8. That is the Inwood and then Tabler Station Road exits off of I-81. These accidents occurring right around the 2:16 time frame. So please avoid that area if at all possible at this time. It's the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Martinsburg. Stop in now for great deals on a great line of Jeep products. Get $1,000 cash back on a 2019 Jeep Cherokee with financing at 0% for 60 months. How about a new 2019 Cherokee Latitude 4x4, only $219 a month, or a 2018 Jeep Wrangler JK for only $296 a month. Get bonus cash up to $6,000 off a 2018 Renegade, plus $500 trade. Stop by and test drive a Chrysler Pacifica and get free movie passes. It's all at the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty on Kelly Island Road, or online at millerschryslerjeep.com. All payments based on approved credit, taxes, tags, and processing fees extra. See dealer for details.
After removing your creme brulee from the oven, your dessert should look just scrumptious. Now sprinkle with some sugar and use your torch to braise it to a golden, crispy brown.
Disasters happen. Fire, water, and natural disasters. Tell your insurance provider you prefer Blue Ridge Property Restore. Blue Ridge Property Restore, getting you back from disaster faster.
Join us next week when we tackle Baked Alaska.
Hey, Sherry. My car needs a West Virginia State Inspection sticker, an oil change, some brakes, and I'm pretty sure I need new tires, too. Do you know of a good and honest place that won't rip off a lady? Do you know a place like that, Sherry?
Sure I do, Crusha. I've lived around here my whole life. There's only one place like that around here that I go to, and that's Pennington's Auto Center. It's the only place to go to for all of your car repair needs.
What's the name of that place again?
Pennington's Auto Center on Edwin Miller Boulevard in Martinsburg. Ask for Jeff. He'll take great care of you.
We have the tools, we have the talent. It's Miller time.
It's Miller time on Talk Radio WRNR. A look at local sports with the play-by-play voice of local sports, Matt Miller.
And we welcome you back into Miller Time. Along with Matt Crawford, I'm Matt Miller, taking you to 6:30 this evening, and Washington Nationals scheduled baseball at least. We'll see if they get it in with the rains that we've had throughout the day. And from what we understand, some rain falling within the last hour down in D.C. The Phillies come to town, and this becomes a very important series because right now, Washington is 3 back of Atlanta in the NL East race at 40 wins and 33 losses. Philadelphia, who was off yesterday, is just a half a game back at 39 and 33. And they open a key weekend series tonight. The Nationals have been struggling offensively, as we talked about. They've got to find a way to take at least 2 out of 3 in this series.
And the Phillies are excited because they haven't really had to play their best baseball to stick around and be relevant. I mean, the Nationals have helped them out tremendously. I think you're along the right lines of saying they got to get 2 of 3. I think if they can only take 1 or for some reason would get swept, I think if that were to happen, then it's really time to start evaluating the team as a whole.
Wow.
If you haven't done that already.
Especially offensively. You feel good about your starting pitching.
And even the bullpen right now, which is something that's been an issue. So, it's really evaluate your team at the plate. So, I should evaluate myself after saying that. But now, you just really look at the plate. The pitching's fine. The pitching will be there. Again, you have arguably one of the best pitchers of the last decade on your team. You got Strasburg that's going to come back and hopefully be healthy. You got Gio's pitching well. Tanner Roark's throwing well this year. So, you don't have to worry about on the mound. Just figure out what's going on at the plate.
Now, speaking of hitting, word just coming out, even as we were in the news break, about Bryce Harper.
Yeah, he announced, I got an alert on my phone from ESPN, that if Bryce Harper is selected to the All-Star game, he would love to do the home run derby.
Which he has avoided in the past.
Yes.
But, of course, the All-Star game is in D.C. And he still does lead the NL with home runs. It's been a while since he's hit one.
Well, that's because all the big sluggers went to the AL over the offseason.
So fans in D.C. are hoping to hear something like this.
Way back there! Is it going to get out? Yes! A walk-off drive for Bryce Harper! And the Suns win it here in Hagerstown! An H-bomb in H-Town! And the kid gets mobbed at the plate! His biggest home run of his young minor league career!
Had to bring that back from a few years ago.
Did you put the music behind that?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if that was sent to you or something like that.
No, we actually, that call from the Hagerstown Suns was a part of the Washington Nationals audio clips from that very night. So in other words, folks, we are a Nationals affiliate. And so each day we get an email following a game in which they send various highlights and information that we then can use on the air as an affiliate. And that given night, however many years ago that was, at the end of all of the Nationals Major League highlights, there then was this separate highlight that said, Bryce Harper hits a walk-off in Hagerstown, and there was the play-by-play call. And we heard that and went, oh, that's classic. That's your classic minor league call. A young guy doing play-by-play, just over the top with the H-bomb in H-Town. All we could think of was we were sure glad that minor league team was not in Funkstown.
An F-bomb in F-Town.
So, yeah, maybe he can get back to some kind of form. Maybe that's what Bryce Harper needs right now. He's been struggling at the plate. A lot of times you hear hitters, including Harper in the past, not wanting to be in the home run derby because they don't want to mess around with their swing. The home run derby is a totally different thing as you are trying to drive balls out of the park. And so you're dipping the shoulder. You've got a certain angle to your upswing as you're trying to rip them out of the park. They say, I don't want to mess up my swing. Maybe this is what he needs to get his swing back.
I think if everybody has that big of an issue with it messing up their swing, I'm not seeing how it could be a positive thing. The only thing I could see coming from it that would be positive is if it relaxed him in some way and got his mind right, not necessarily his form right. But I don't see him making the All-Star team. I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't because of the way the All-Star game is voted on by the fans, and he's a crowd favorite. But I just don't see him making the All-Star. He shouldn't make the All-Star game just based on his stats this year. Again, leads the NL in home runs, but you got to look at more than that to be considered an All-Star.
All right, here is the NL All-Star voting update. Harper leads all candidates as host of Close Races Develop. This is an article directly from...
He leads voters. He has the most votes.
I'm just saying that's the
seriously.
That's the secondary title on this Major League Baseball MLB.com article. Harper leads all candidates as host of close races develops.
That's ridiculous. I get he's exciting. I get he has the ability to be exciting, but look at his stats, people. That dude doesn't deserve to be an all-star.
Harper, as this came out, and I'm looking to see, is this specifically today? No, this was as of May 30th.
So he may not have been deep. He wasn't deep into a slump at that point.
Right, not nearly as deep. But
Okay.
at that point, he had 900,000 votes. The closest outfielder behind him was Charlie Blackmon at 520,000 votes. And then Jason Hayward at 344,000 votes. Even if you look at some of the other positions, Chris Bryant was up at 632, almost 633,000 votes as a third baseman, and almost 670,000 for Daniel Murphy as a second baseman. And yet Murphy
hasn't played. That is why the system is screwed. How is somebody that hasn't played leading his position, or was at one point leading his position in all-star voting? That's ridiculous.
I am right there with you. I'm trying to find the music if I have it. I don't seem to have it queued up, but I was looking for the dun 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 dun. We finally agree on something, because I've had issue with the way that all-star games are selected for years. Jason Coleridge says, as a Cubs fan, I'd say Chris Bryant shouldn't be there either.
I agree with you, Jason. I think Hayward should be. I think he deserves to go up the list a little bit, especially as of late. But I don't see Chris Bryant being an all-star this year.
That's my issue. With fans voting, it just becomes a popularity contest. It doesn't necessarily become about what a player is doing on the field at that given time.
You got to think of who's going to vote if it's not the players, or if it's not the fans. You have players vote for it, because if you're going to have the same committee that does like the Hall of Fame voting, they don't know how to vote either. So the only way I think it would be fair is if you had players vote and you can't vote for yourself.
Managers?
Yeah, you can have managers do it. I think if you have people within the organization voting on all-star, because again, the fan vote is a popularity contest, and it ruins the all-star game, because you have guys that you're going to have a Bryce Harper in the all-star game that's batting probably at that point, probably still batting around 210, maybe 220. Because your average goes down a lot quicker than it comes back up.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So it's ridiculous. They need to change something about the all-star voting.
All right, let's move to minor league baseball. The Hagerstown Suns falling in the second half season opener last night to Greensboro, 4-3, the final, as Greensboro scored the game winner in the top of the 8th inning. For Hagerstown, Luis Garcia did have a couple of hits as he extends his current hit streak to 6 games.
Does it count like that?
What's
the
that?
Start of the season?
Yes, it still counts. And they still actually do keep track of the overall record. But for playoff purposes, we start afresh and anew to try to determine the second half winner of each division, North and South. So Greensboro's 35-35 overall, now 1-0 in the second half. Hagerstown 0-1 in the second half, and they're 27-42. By the way, the Suns rained out tonight over in Hagerstown, and that means they'll likely try a doubleheader tomorrow. I would imagine that means they'll begin at 5:05 and then play 2 7-inning games with Greensboro still in town. And, of course, the Suns going out of town to Delmarva on Sunday. Let's bring in Caleb one final time from the newsroom if he's still listening over there. One other quick piece of NBA information that we didn't really get a chance to address as we ran out of time is former Martinsburg and Clemson standout Dante Grantham had to battle through that knee injury suffered against Notre Dame, about midpoint of the season. And he was, really playing well at that particular moment and time. He was hoping to maybe get drafted. It didn't happen. Caleb, how much do you think the injury played into his not being drafted?
I think it had just about everything to do with it. I think he had career highs in all his stats for the year. The Clemson, they were doing really well as far as a team went, and he was a leader. So, but I still thought he was a great leader on the bench, and I think that really stood out to scouts.
Yeah, when it comes to what he brings to a locker room and what he brings to a community, I don't think there's any dispute that he's going to be a great teammate and a great asset wherever he gets that opportunity to play.
Well, I still do question how much the injury had to do with it based on the fact that the NBA draft is unlike any other draft because it's based on potential. So, I mean, I'm sure the injury had a part in it, but when the NBA war rooms are going, okay, what potential do we see in this kid? You would think that injury or not, that wouldn't affect it a whole lot. Maybe I'm reading too much into this.
I expected him to be like a second-round pick.
I wasn't expecting him to be a first-round pick.
I think the injury dropped him back. I mean, you look at Michael Porter Jr. He was supposed to be the first overall. He dropped way down the list.
To me, it's if you're judging people on potential, injury, no injury, I don't know how potential can impact that.
I was checking online earlier today to see if anything had arisen regarding possibly signing a free agent contract. We've seen some Shepherd Ram football players do that and get their chance in the NFL, and I have not seen anything to this point. I know that he had a good workout with the Knicks and that Oklahoma City had shown some interest as well. I did read one online article that said that Grantham may be looking to play in one of the summer leagues or G leagues.
Right. Yeah, I think he'll make a spot on one of the teams, maybe even the Oklahoma City team if they were that interested in him. They do have a summer league team, and there's also three different summer leagues, so he has a chance to get on one of those teams.
Well, that would be awesome for him to get that opportunity to maybe play on the next level. Caleb, thanks again.
You're welcome.
We've got a break to take, but before we do, and then come back and kind of change our subject, let's quickly jump into this information coming out late this afternoon from Chip Ransom in the Sports Information Office at Shepherd University. This year's Athletic Hall of Fame inductees have been announced. The induction banquet will be Friday, October the 26th, and there will be 4 new members who will go in. Football player Todd Fisher, class of 98. Al Lewick, who will go in, class of 67. Antar Parkman, men's basketball, class of 2001. And locally, congratulations to Hedgesville's own Dirk Webb, class of 2008, the baseball standout, going to be a part of the 33rd class inducted into the Shepherd Ram Athletic Hall of Fame.
Stay local.
There it is. You got to love it. I'm looking forward to seeing if we can maybe get a hold of Dirk and get him on the air and talk a little bit about this honor that is coming his way. All right, coming up next, I want to get Matt's thoughts on an article that I read actually over the weekend. I've been waiting for the perfect time to kind of get this in, and here we are on Friday, looking all the way back about 5 days ago, but I couldn't believe some of what I read from Mike Florio on NBCSports.com. We'll find out Matt's thoughts next on Miller Time.
It's time for your Berkeley County Health Department summer food safety tips. Today we're talking with Kara Harding about the safest way to treat food left outside in the summer.
Anything that requires cold holding, you want to make sure is iced. I always encourage people to cover anything that they can. I like the netting that you can put out too that covers your food because flies carry disease as well. And we know that as soon as your food is out, they come.
Have a safe summer from the Berkeley County Health Department. For additional information, go to bchealthdept.org.
As Asanovich goes to second with a 2 RBI double, and Martinsburg is on the board first.
This is West Virginia State delegate and former Little League All-Star Jason Barrett. I can still remember those summer days, the fun of playing baseball, building friendships, and learning lessons that are still with me today as I serve the people of the 61st District. I'm proud to support this year's All-Stars and wish the best to each team.
61st District Delegate Jason Barrett. Trusted leadership, real solutions.
This week only, it's Apple Valley Chevrolet Toyota's Reclaimed Vehicle Sale. We've purchased and reclaimed titles to pre-owned vehicles from dealer auctions, online factory sales, rental fleets, and financial institutions. Many vehicles priced well below fair market value with payments from $99 a month. Little to no down payment should be necessary to obtain preferred financing. The Reclaimed Vehicle Sale. This week only at Apple Valley Chevrolet Toyota in Martinsburg. With approved credit, 15 Sonic, stock number 18C392B, 72 months at 3.75%, 0 down, excludes tax, title, registration, and $175 dealer fee. See dealer for details.
Ladies, Saturday, July 7th, Valley Guns 2 is having their 5th annual Boardwalk Sale and Smith & Wesson Range Day event. Smith & Wesson factory reps will be on site to answer all of your questions. Come test fire the new Smith & Wesson 380 Shield EZ. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. It's the new Smith & Wesson 380 Shield EZ on sale. It's a 5th annual Boardwalk Sale and Smith & Wesson Range Day event, Saturday, July 7th at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81, Inwood, West Virginia.
We welcome you back into Miller Time on this Friday evening. About 9 minutes left in the program.
We need the drum solo in this song.
That's true.
In the middle of the song where Phil Collins has a nice little drum riff. We need that. That's a good thing to come back. So it'll wake you up in the morning.
We will have to go and find that. Right now we have just the short version at the beginning of the song that helps to be our comeback music, as you might say. Well, I can feel it coming in the air, and I could feel it all week because this article has really perturbed me. This is from Mike Florio. It was on NBCSports.com, and the title of the article, and this came out last weekend, and I'll be honest, the only reason I saw it is because it popped up on the news feature on my phone. And so I clicked the news feature, and one of the sports articles was this one that says, "Why don't fans support players who want more?" And it was in reference to a handful of players sitting out OTAs. All right. So what are those optional training?
I think it's optional team
activities. Thank you. And so, he tries to get into it, and he says in the first paragraph, why, given all that is now known about the risk of a career in professional football, do fans continue to complain when a player hopes to receive greater compensation for the risk he assumes and the sacrifices he makes? And then he goes on to talk about billionaire owners and the fact that all players aren't millionaires. And I understand maybe not all players, are millionaires, but the average salary or the minimum salary is what?
It's like $900,000, isn't it?
So
isn't it somewhere in the upper echelons of the six figures?
We will check it out online.
Regardless, it's enough that you're okay. The first couple of years you may not be. You may be paying off some sort of student debt, or you still just may be acquiring more money in your first couple of years of getting contracts.
All right, here it is. This is just a quick article that says, as of the 2014 season, now who knows what the difference is over the last 4 years, a rookie with 0 years of experience has a minimum salary at $420, while a veteran with 10-plus years of experience has a minimum of $955,000 a year. Now, 10 years in the NFL is a long time.
Yeah.
There are a number of players that clearly have been able to play that length of time. But so he gets into this article and kind of questions why fans aren't behind these players who are skipping out on OTAs and saying, we want more money. And he does go on to make a good point. I'll give him credit here in that, look, that's the way the collective bargaining agreement is set up. I mean, while the contract is there, the owner can dissolve that contract at any moment in time. They can cut a player, they can waive a player, they can trade a player, and suddenly things become different. That's why NFL contracts are so much about that guaranteed money up front, because the full contract is typically not guaranteed. So what's one of the ways that a player can have a little leverage? Well, it's to hold out. So I buy that. I give him that as part of his conversation. But he then goes on to try to give reasons why he thinks fans don't get all, excited about, hey, players are holding out for more money, good for them. Well, first of all, he talks about, let me go back a little bit to the greater compensation that they're looking for due to the risk assumed and sacrifices made.
You know what the risks are when you sign up.
Mr. Florio, how many players are getting money from fans putting butts in seats who suffer tremendous risk and make tremendous sacrifices as police officers and firefighters and doctors and nurses and construction workers and everything else who go about their job every day? They're not getting $1 million a year either, and yet they're supposed to be the ones sitting around going, oh boy, I hope he gets more. Look, if he can get more, good. I don't really care. That's one thing I know, fussing a little bit about this earlier in the week with our own Rob Mario. He said, the average fan doesn't have time to even care about OTAs.
Yeah.
They're going to work every day trying to make a living and provide for their family. They're not really watching going, oh, he's holding out. Oh, he wants more.
The only time that anybody knows that is when they're listening to an NFL Network Now or an NBC Sports Update when the national media decides to make it a big deal.
All right, let me give you 3 reasons, because the last one, we're going to need a few moments, and we're down to about 4 minutes left. First of all, he says, fans just want the players to play, and because it's a holdout, it's the player that's stopping himself from playing, and fans don't care for that. Okay, whatever. Second, he says, fans don't care about the massive wealth differential between owners and players. Whatever. Okay.
I could care less about that.
And personally, a lot of those owners didn't get their money through football. They bought a football team because they got their money somewhere else. Then number 3, listen to this load of crap. It would be foolish to not consider the racial component. Why does he have to go here? Listen to this. Especially against the backdrop of the ongoing anthem debate. He says some, and then in parentheses, the word many white fans surely resent, again, putting in quotes, consciously or not, or in parentheses, consciously or not, the fact that African-American men parlay God-given physical skills into the kind of money and fame that the average white person never will enjoy, no matter how hard he or she works.
So Mr. Florio just said was because I, as one of the many white fans of the NFL, and you, as one of the many white fans of the NFL, hate that black players get paid a lot of money because they're black? Is that what you're telling me?
That's because he says they parlay God-given physical skills into the kind of money and fame that the average white person will never enjoy.
I think Tom Brady's paid too much.
Get ready. He says then when African-American players try to get more money, that some, and again in parentheses, many. So he starts by trying to be nice, so to speak, and then throws everybody under the bus. White fans think they don't really deserve that extra money. Those fans get even more upset, reasoning that the players who already have more than they should simply be happy with what they're getting.
I think that regardless of race, you should be happy with what you're getting because you're getting paid to play a sport. I think I should be happy with what I'm getting with my salary because I get to talk about sports all day. It has nothing to do with race.
Nothing.
I watch a football game to watch good football players play the game at the highest level possible. I get angry when I see the astronomical contracts, whether somebody's white, black, Mexican, Chinese, Pacific Island. It doesn't matter. I think that NFL salaries are too high to begin with. It has nothing to do with that many fans.
Yes.
Okay. I'll give him that some. There will be some fans.
If he would have left some, I'd have been.
Yes.
I still wouldn't have liked it, but okay. But when he then puts in parentheses many, that means he's throwing guys like you and I in that mix. Mr. Florio, get over whatever issue you're dealing with race-wise and leave the rest of us who have no issue with it out of this picture. And the thing that gets me is this. I went back and checked because I couldn't remember the year. Right around 1987, 88, there was a sportscaster at the time by the name of Jimmy the Greek, and he was known for making predictions and all of that kind of stuff and, talk show oriented. He came out in an interview and made a statement that went along the lines of that blacks were bred for athletics back in the days of slavery and so forth. He basically said the same kind of thing. Tell me that Mike Florio is not saying the same kind of thing when he says African-American men parlay God-given physical skills into money and fame that the average white person will never enjoy. I don't get it. In 87, 88, Jimmy the Greek was out of a job and was shamed for the things that he wrote, and Mike Florio is still touted as this top NFL type of reporter and inside guy, and yet writes this kind of gibberish, and I'm going, you got to be kidding me.
I'm with you. He needs to get off whatever issue he's dealing with, because I don't think that have you talked to any NFL fan that has that issue?
No, not yet.
And neither have I. So I think that takes out the many.
Yeah, please. I'm holding my collective breath as we wrap up today's Miller Time.
In Washington, D.C. 3 consecutive home runs here in the third inning. Ryan Zimmerman swings and launches one to deep left center field. This one's way back. Is it high enough? It is. It's a home run. They've hit 4 home runs in a row, and that's a new Nationals record. Scherzer top 7. Now the kick. Here it comes. Swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with a slider. He has tied the Major League record for strikeouts in a game with 20 strikeouts. Randy Johnson, Kerry Wood, Roger Clemens, and now Max Scherzer.
This is Nats on Deck.
We have the tools, we have the talent. It's Miller time.